about it. We're going to dive right into it. So this game takes place a few months after. So chronologically, the last, even though we played the last one shot was Coyote, that was a bit of a flashback. So if you watched Thread, that was the last chronological one shot that we did, Chaser that we did, in which Miri's character Cassie sort of solved the to some degree the problem that was happening in Chicago, where the unnamed one who was buried under Chicago in a sarcophagus and was trying to escape and was manipulating a whole bunch of people into doing a whole bunch of weird and bad things, was resealed in its tomb thanks to Cassie and to Vorena, the Zimshi. And so we pick up a few months after that, a couple of months after that down the road, still in Chicago. And we will see exactly sort of what going to go down with that. Right, let's take a look at this business that's going to happen. First of all, a few words by the poet Mark Strand. This session is called Remains, and this is a poem called Remains also. I empty myself of the names of others. I empty my pockets. I empty my shoes and leave them beside the road. At night I turn back the clocks. I open the family album and look at myself as a boy. What good does it do? The hours have done their job. I say my own name. I say goodbye. The words follow each other downwind. I love my wife, but send her away. My parents rise out of their thrones into the milky rooms of clouds. How can I sing? Time tells me what I am. I change, and I am the same. I empty myself of my life, and my life remains. The characters that we're seeing tonight started this series dealing with issues of their transformation, dealing with what it meant to become a vampire, start losing humanity. Some of them threw their humanity out the window really quickly, looking at you here, Bones. But some of the others have been struggling to try and retain this humanity and keep a foothold, at least in that world, even though they've been through a lot. They've in some cases have managed to keep shreds of their humanity intact. They are still learning to deal with this new vampiric world that they are in, and with the events that occurred in the past few games and the past few months. We'll see how they start to come to deal with that. One of the things that has happened in the city since then in Chicago is that the government has started taking a bit of a more direct interest in the activities of the kindred, of the vampires. Due to this, the elders of the city, the prince, the primogen, the other elders have started retreating a little bit and kind of going into hiding, as the Nosferatu have realized that the government has been spying a lot more on communications of the kindred. There's definitely something that's sort of happening, but what this has led to is, in the absence of some of these elders, the Anarchs have become emboldened and have started taking up a bit more space in Chicago. The players are all in, or the characters rather, are all in slightly different situations than they were before. When we last saw them in Lights 2, and we'll sort of get around here quickly and kind of just let's go around the table here quickly and just kind of give us maybe a little look into the headspace of your characters as this new series begins here. It's been a few months since the last few events. Just kind of give us a little kind of look-see at where your character is at in their head and sort of what they're doing and what they're is preoccupying their days and nights. Their days they're sleeping, I guess. They're vampire. So let's start with Myriad. Myriad, what's going on with Cassie?
I think Cassie has been trying to integrate herself a little bit more with kindred society. She sort of never really knew how to navigate it before, and as she sees, I don't know necessarily if I would say it's like a pull away from Helena and Teddy, but them kind of finding their own paths. I think she's trying to find her own on her own, and she wants to learn more about kindred society, and she wants to maybe feel powerful and maybe cozy up to people who are powerful in doing that.
Try to take a bit more control of her own life, her own destiny, maybe in some way.
Yeah.
Excellent. And what has Helena been up to? What is Helena's state of mind, do you think?
Oh, Helena has been a very busy girl since we last saw her in that chaser. She's been very busy working on the temple, sort of garnering this almost cult following, and kind of just waiting for Hayden to show up whenever. She is very interested to see what his plans are, and sort of a little bit like Cassie, riding those coattails, but in not so much a productive manner as it is nefarious. She's a bad boy after all.
Indeed she is. Very bad boy. Hayden, of course, your Helena's lover, Tremere, who has with you started hatching a plan to perhaps depose the Primogen, Premier clan and regent, Charlotte Rojas, from her seat. So we'll see sort of what comes of that. Finally, Teddy, what's Teddy's headspace? What's going on with Teddy these days?
I think Teddy has been just trying to get used to being back in the city around people, though she kind of often finds herself drifting off alone and running around the outskirts of the city at night with the coyote packs that run around Chicago. I think she goes and visits Cassie as much as Cassie is there and will allow, so she can see Prince and catch up with Cassie. But a lot of her time has been spent lost in thought on what happened with Carter. This wedge that it's put between her and Lee, and trying to kind of find her feelings regarding Lee. She still feels a bit betrayed by him. And that's really hard on her. And Owen coming back up out of nowhere and helping her and telling her that Cassie was involved in something, that these people are looking for Cassie because they believe she's some sort of key. And I think that also kind of ties into her going and regularly checking in on Cassie to see her dog, just kind of keeping tabs. And so I think she's got a lot of things just kind of floating through her mind, and somewhere picking very, very far back in the deep recesses of her mind, what happened while she was out on the road right before she came back to see everyone is kind of started to creep back up on her as well. So a lot of heavy thoughts right now.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of visiting Cassie, what, if anything, have you told your friends about what occurred in the underground with Ariadne, the professor, and the unnamed one? Or have you talked about it at all?
I don't think Cassie has mentioned it. I think Cassie feels some sort of failure having not been able to help Ariadne. And there is sort of this guilt weighing on her that this is someone who's important, someone who's powerful, someone who has helped everyone with no recognition in the past. She's been helping all along. And Cassie still feels like she had the opportunity to help, and she couldn't, and she didn't. And I think that Cassie is sort of just, she's got that guilt with her, and she just kind of doesn't mention it because of that, because then she would have to kind of look at herself and realize that she had failed.
Failed herself, her friends, or the city? Where's that guilt at?
She failed Ariadne.
Ariadne. Your names are wrong. What do you say? Overlay?
Yeah, the character names. It's saying it says April and Mira.
Okay, I will fix that momentarily. All right, excellent. So you've been keeping that secret from them, from sort of everybody else, as trying to come to terms with what has happened. One of the things that has happened is that having perhaps talked to Nicola, your former mentor, and the eldest Malkavian in the city. So as a reminder, the Malkavians, because of things that occurred several decades ago around the professor and so on and so forth, had been banned from the city, had been stripped of their primogen seat. There was only allowed to be 3 Malkavians at a time in the city. But now, as you've spoken to Nicola about what happened, to try and even make sense of it, Nicola has started really kind of wanting to use that to try and push to get back the right for Malkavians to be in the city, and perhaps even the primogen seat. That's why you find yourself suddenly one of these one fine day, Cassie, waiting in the elders of the city have taken to, as I was saying before, kind of hiding out a little bit and being more obscure. They don't talk on the phone anymore. They don't use the internet, that kind of thing. And they are sort of focusing on like old school ways of, meeting face to face and things like that. So you've been called along with Nicola to a meeting of the primogen. The primogen in the city, of course, being the elder vampires and the prince who control the city. You've met the prince before, you've met some of the primogen, but you've never been convened to a meeting of them. You are taken to an old building that appears to be maybe had been a bank at some point or something like that, and you are guided in through the back door and in through the lower levels, deep under the earth, where the vaults were, and you figure that this is probably to defeat any sort of listening devices that might be around. You can sense the paranoia that exists now kind of in the air. There's a lot of guards. You're stripped of your cell phone, of any sort of communication device you might have before you're brought in. And you're sitting in the entrance to this sort of meeting room. You can see the primogen talking amongst themselves over into the room. Hey, Rob, welcome in. Into the room. You can kind of catch words here and there that they're saying. And you're sitting outside with Nicola, waiting to meet them, to sort of address them. And as you're sitting there, Nicola sort of leans over to you and says, I understand, Cassie, that you may be reticent a little bit to talk about some of the things that happened. They're going to have a lot of questions thanks to the information you've given me. I can probably answer a lot of the details for you. What I really need you to do here today, and this is for the clan as a whole, we need you to rehabilitate, first of all, the professor's name, because we need to kind of erase that stench that, is the accusation against him had left on the clan, in order to possibly regain our seat. If we are able to do this, if we're able to convince them that you've done some good for the city, the clan has done some good, we might be able to invite more of the clan back into the city, have people stop looking at us like we're children killers, and maybe start rebuilding a little bit in here. If at any point in time you feel a little bit overwhelmed by all of them, just remember, I'm here, I'm there with you. You're not on any sort of trial. They really just kind of want, and they're going to have a few questions for you. Just answer them the best of your ability, and don't fret too much about it. It's going to be great. You're going to be great, darling.
Do you think they're going to believe me?
I think that one, they have ways of making sure that you're telling the truth, or at least ascertaining whether or not you are. And from what I've been able to gather from talking with some of them, they already kind of know sort of what happened and really just want to hear it from the horse's mouth. So, just tell the truth. Just say what happened. Maybe don't talk about... What was the other one's name? The other one that was with you? Borena, was that it?
Why? Would she be in trouble?
Well, you know, she's Sabat, and it's probably better to kind of leave that out of there. Yeah, just...
Yeah, I haven't had any contact with her, so it's fine, I guess.
Okay, just don't be too intimidated.
You,
Got this.
all of the Giovanni have left the city, right?
Yep. As far as we can tell, they've all gone. And my
I'm gonna
understanding...
pull out the finger that I cut from the professor. I thought that maybe we could have talked to him, but I guess this is kind of useless now then, huh?
Yeah, maybe keep that. Who knows what's going to happen? My understanding is that there are no Giovannis left in town. Something happened in Europe about a month ago. From what I know, the clan elder was destroyed, as were a couple of the other leaders.
What happened to the Primogen?
He left. He was... my understanding is he was summoned over to Venice to talk to the clan, and no one's heard or seen from him since. So.
I saw him down there too.
When? Recently?
No, down in the Edgewater. I saw him down there with us. I don't know if it was a vision or if he was actually there, but... He talked about buying the hospital. I think that's... Maybe I gave him the idea? Told him to make it into condos.
Condos? That's been a while that they've been condos, so...
Yeah, he said that was a really good idea and he might do that. So it was like it was before. No. Okay. Focus on Malkavian business. I mean, I had to argue my dissertation to people from the University of Chicago. It's like, same kind of principle, right?
Literally, it's quite the same thing.
Yeah, except, like, the people that I had to do that in front of were not scary, powerful vampires, so I guess...
Well, they were scary, powerful academics, so kind of very similar.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm ready, I think.
All right, I think so too. Let's go in there, and you did a really great thing for the city, and they're going to remember it, and they're going to be thankful for it.
I think Cassie looks at her and does not believe her, but will nod regardless.
The seneschal of the city, Mariska of Clan Ventru, the seneschal is the person who speaks for the prince when the prince is not there, is approaching you at this point. You feel she's one of those Ventrus that has this very intense presence. Whenever she walks into the room, your eyes feel completely drawn to her, and you you get this sort of overpowering feeling that you're in the presence of someone of great importance, even though you don't really know her yourself, and you know that she's really, just kind of, she's not the prince or anything. And she'll come in and she'll say, Cassie, are you ready to come and speak to the Primogen?
Yeah, whenever you guys are ready.
Well, we're ready now. Please follow me. Nicola, you can come also. So as the two of you follow Mariska into the sort of meeting room, the boardroom, across the city somewhere, Helena, you wake up sitting up in bed, drenched in sweat. You have been for the past few weeks, 3 weeks almost, every few nights, having this nightmare, this dream, where you walk into a room in your temple and you see all the kids that you had fed to Bahari are all standing there. They are alive, well, and as you walk into the room, they point at you. And then you hear laughter, and when you turn around, you see Bahari standing behind you, smiling, very much alive, and her face transforms into the likeness of a serpent with long fangs, and the mouth kind of opens up and swallows your face whole, and you wake up. And you've had this same dream a few times now in the past few weeks, and you've found yourself a few times also catching out of the corner of your eye. You think you see some of the kids that you gave to Bahari that night. You think you see them hanging in the shop or on the street corner or in a reflection in a mirror or in a window. When you turn to look at them, they're not there, and it's kind of been haunting you a lot. And Hayden has not been answering your calls or your messages. He's been gone for a few weeks also, and it's becoming difficult to get through the night without facing some of this. Once again, you wake up suddenly drenched in sweat, the feeling of this nightmare kind of unsettling you, Bill. And as you're trying to catch your breath, you hear a faint knocking at the door to your chambers.
I think Helena immediately is on high alert and will go to the door and sort of put her ear to it to listen if anybody's out there.
My queen, it is I, Samir.
She'll open the door then, slowly.
You see your ghoul, Samir, who had been a gift from Bahari. When Bahari was killed, he was freed from the bond to her, and he pledged himself to you, and some blood bonded him, gained his loyalty. As you open the door, he stands there, and you have moved out of your shop and are in chambers now in your temple that was built beneath that old post office in the underground. The temple now has been, very well furnished and sort of very built as you've been able to acquire some of Bahari's financial influence and contacts and things of that nature after Bahari is killed. He stands in the hallway, and this hallway that you have is done in this kind of very modern take on, ancient Egypt motifs and things of that nature. Whether you've done it because you're really into it or whether you did it just because you kind of felt that that's what was expected, it's kind of up to you. He stands there with a lantern, and he says, I'm sorry, I was waiting for you to wake up, but I heard you having a disturbed dreams again. Are you well? Are you okay?
She hesitates for a moment, and without Hayden, she sort of feels this urge to look a little bit stronger than perhaps she knows she is, and shakes off the question and says, I'm fine. Of course I'm fine. Strange dreams, that's all. I'll send another message to Hayden. Maybe he'll respond.
Maybe he will. In the meantime, one of our followers is here and wants to see you. She says she has interesting information.
Take me to her then.
Would you like to some time to prepare yourself to change, or?
I imagine Helena is really into really fluffy robes, and sort of considers herself for a moment and gives a nod and will quickly go to change and sort of spruce herself up.
As you spruce yourself up, maybe spray a little bit of perfume on and look at yourself in the mirror. As you lift up your eyes and catch sight of yourself, you hear very briefly from the corner of the room Bahari's laugh. You turn and look, and of course there's nobody there, just fleeting shadows that are disappearing, and
think this irritates Helena. And she sort of gives a hiss to that corner and will very quickly and quietly say, I will not entertain ghosts in this temple.
You step outside, Samir's there. He guides you towards one of the front rooms. He says, as he's getting you, her name is Val. She is a fairly well-placed escort in the higher stratosphere of the corporate world. She has been a follower of ours for nearly 7 months now. She often brings us interesting tidbits of information. When she began talking about what she had overheard this time, I thought you might hear it yourself firsthand.
Very well.
It brings you into the area that's kind of like your office sort of thing. There's like this large room with a big desk and, books and scrolls and papyrus from all over the place. You have a little area with some chairs to sit down, some nice big club chairs, and this is sort of where you conduct your meetings. And you see this woman there, blonde, really well dressed in a black leather miniskirt, long, very tall leather boots, a beautiful coat over her shoulders. As you walk in, she lowers her head and says, "Priestess."
You're called Val?
I am.
Helena very slowly walks to her desk. I imagine Gil is there slithering about.
He is. You kind of have this whole contraption now around the room where he's got different places that he can sort of hang on and kind of almost go all the way around the room. He's always kind of hanging around. She was very keenly aware of Gil in the room when you walked in, and still she's kind of following him out of the corner of her.
She sits and puts her hands on the desk, neatly folded.
If it please you, High Priestess, one of my regular clients, someone who's inadvertently fed me a lot of interesting information in the past, is a married woman who works for Homeland Security. I thank you very much, Sithi. Sithi has donated enough bits for everyone to get a night room, so I start stacking those up again. Thank you, Sithi. Appreciate it. She says she works for Homeland Security. I will do this thing where I pretend to go take a shower after we've had our session, and I listen to the door. She has a habit of making business calls when she thinks that I'm in the shower. She got on a Zoom call with someone or some sort of video cam communication thing. I assume Homeland Security doesn't use Zoom, but in any case, she was talking about a party that's coming up, a once-a-year affair at the penthouse of someone named Orrin White. I know about this party. Everyone in the life does. It's once-a-year big sex party this guy throws for major power brokers in town. Getting to work there is a bit like the Holy Grail ticket for people in my profession. I didn't hear everything that she said, but at some point she mentioned, and I quote, "fucking vampires." I paid closer attention after that. The rest didn't seem very meaningful, but she said a few other weird things that I thought you might be interested in. She said glass walkers, and she also said, and I quote, "we'll know if Aegis is full of shit or not." And then she said, "the banker, Attias Giovanni, is bankrolling something or other." And I remembered you had a friend called Giovanni, so I noted that down also.
Who do you work for, Val?
You.
Who do you work for, Val? Who helps with your little operation?
Oh, I work for an agency in town.
What is the name of the agency?
elite and discreet.
Helena writes that down. Interesting. I like an enterprise, Val. You understand that, right? I'm a businesswoman at heart. I own my own shop.
Mm-hmm.
A few of those in town in Chicago. I would like to know, are there more girls like you, like us, who work there?
Yes, I have a few friends that I've been talking about, in veiled terms, of course, the group here. I told them how you talk about ways of empowerment and of finding within ourselves the means to give our lives meaning, and embracing the darkness that is life as a means of giving ourselves power. And I have a number of them that would be interested in coming to attend one of our sessions here, if you would allow it.
Would you and the rest of these girls be willing to quit your agency and come work for me directly? I have somebody who I might want you to meet.
I think you have to understand that the type of work we do relies a lot on reputation. The agency has that reputation. The reason we get the clients we do is because the agency has a reputation. If we were to simply work for you, we would not be able to have access to the same level of clients that we do at the agency. May I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
The people who run the agency are greedy and avaricious. It might be easy for you to sway them and take control, rather than rebuilding completely from the ground up.
You're a smart girl, Val. I love a buyout. I want to talk to a friend first, but I think that there is potential here to find more followers for this here temple in Chicago and maybe beyond. Don't you think, Val?
I think you're capable of anything, High Priest.
I think you're so right. Well, you've given me much to consider. This party, though. What are the chances that I could find my way in?
With all due respect, your presence in the city is one that is fairly shadowy. The people who get invited to this thing are a bit more showy. Power brokers that are known to be power brokers. You might have someone perhaps under your thumb that would be invited to this thing. I would look there first, and if you are intent on becoming invited yourself, I might suggest perhaps back channels trying to reach to Orin White himself. Make him understand the true power that you wield, the true power that comes from controlling things from the shadows.
Very good. Go away now.
If you need anything else.
I'll call. Talk to your girls.
I will. Turns around. Leaves. Where it says, fucking vampires.
Yeah. She's got her phone out and she's texting Teddy. And I think she texts a very nondescript drinks ?
And as that text travels through the telecommunication grid to try and find Teddy buried somewhere under the earth in a park somewhere. Teddy, you wake up, as we just talked about, buried somewhere under the earth as you've been sleeping. You emerge out of it, and you're disoriented for a second. You look around, and you don't recall having gone to sleep here. It's a place you don't know. You're a little discombobulated. You're trying to figure out sort of where you are, and then you catch a very familiar scent. A scent of leather, perhaps, but undercut by the faintest hint of cherry tree flowers. And it's a scent you haven't smelled in quite some time. And when you turn around, you see sitting there with his back to you someone that you thought long gone. Someone that you haven't maybe thought about as much as you might have back in the day. You see kneeling near you with his back to you, dressed in a very traditional looking kimono, is Takamura. He's kneeling there. He has at his side 2 swords, a wakizashi and a katana, and he's staring out, and you can see very strangely that the sky is red with the sun going down, yet you're not burning or feeling any pain. What do you do?
I think she approaches his side and kneels next to him, looking out at the sun.
He looks. I always did enjoy your blonde hair, but I always wondered what you looked like with your natural color.
I think her head falls slightly, and as her head tilts down, a tear rolls down her cheek.
Keeping up with your reading?
It's been a little harder to read these days. I'm moving around a lot. I find myself quite busy, and when I'm not, I'm lost inside myself. I still have the book, though.
But you're no longer caged if you move about so much.
It's just a new cage, different bars.
This cage is a little more difficult than the other to break out of it.
Maybe. I think only time will tell. I'm sorry.
I've had a lot of time to reflect on what happened. I think that it was inevitable in some ways. There are certain things in life that require a price, and the price is commensurate to what is being sought. You were seeking not only your freedom, but to discover yourself, and that self-discovery always comes at an intense price, and I believe that in this particular case, that price was what happened. My death at your hands. It's a strange thing to be dead. We, of course, imagine it to be a certain way. We think of heavens or paradises or the void, or... But in my case, it's been a long, long walk. through a forest of cherry blossom trees. The floor covered in the soft petals. I never get tired of it.
Sounds beautiful.
I have the good fortune of being able to recall a lot of the poetry that I've read in my life, the poetry that you've read to me in your sweet voice so often. And it keeps me company. But now I find myself here, staring at a sun that doesn't set. I don't know what happened, but somehow gates were open and I was able to just walk out this forest, my beautiful forest, and find myself here. Something's happened, something's changed, and I don't know how to go back.
I don't think I understand this. She kind of shakes her head. This feels like a dream. Something in my mind that I'm speaking to, some guilt that I'm holding on to.
Would you go back, Teddy? If you could. Would you go back to the way things were, either when we knew each other, even before that, or we knew each other before things changed for you?
If I could have saved you, I would go back.
You see this, Teddy? And he puts his hand on the katana. This is an implement of war. It has one purpose and one purpose only. It should only be drawn when one intends to shed blood with it. There is nothing one can do with it. It is not meant to harvest. It is not meant to create. It is simply meant to destroy. And there are certain things in the simply meant to destroy. I believe that to ask you to do different than what you have done would be tantamount to asking this katana to do something other than cut. The only person who can change that purpose is the sword maker, who may decide to take this sword and forge a plow out of it. But unless that person decides to do this, or does the only thing it knows how to do.
Can I ask you a question, Takemura?
Of course. Anything.
Do you think that I'm evil?
Is this sword evil?
But that sword's not a living thing.
Some would argue that you are not either.
That sword doesn't make its own choices.
Do you?
I do.
Are you certain?
Maybe I'm not.
In the back of your mind you hear, you know, there are always things in the blood, in the back of the mind, little girl, that have a hold on us that we can't shake no matter what crimes we commit.
Fuck.
Teddy, you can be the sword, the hand that wields the sword. Or you can decide to change and become a blacksmith. learn those skills and apply them, transform the weapon into something else.
I've been trying. I feel like I've done some good. I fucked up a lot.
I'm certain you've done enough good to balance out the evil that you've been forced to commit, but at the end of the day, you have to make the sacrifices required. For the sword to cease being a sword, it has to be destroyed, then reborn into something completely. It has to shed all remnants of its wartime past. It has to stop being the beauteous instrument of death that it is, this epitome of craftsmanship. It has to take its claws and put them away.
I'm not sure I know how to do that yet.
There's still time to learn.
I think she finally allows herself to turn her head and look at him, to look at his face.
Staring out at the sun, you see the side of his face, lit in red, with the setting sun, which hasn't moved.
I'm gonna figure out what's going on. I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna right this wrong.
Perhaps, Teddy, the answer is not choose one over the other. The samurai of old were warriors, but they were also poets. They created as much as they destroyed. Sometimes it may not be a question of one over the other, but rather one of the balance. One as much as.
I've missed you.
Not as much as I've missed you. He gets up, picks up the two blades, puts them in his belt. I will do what I do every night. I will walk towards the sun and hope that something changes.
Keep hoping.
I would say the same to you. He bows.
She stands and bows.
Comes over very gently, very slowly. Takes you in, pulls you towards him in a gentle embrace. Hands back. One or the other, or balance.
Balance.
You hear an insistent beeping sound. You watch him fade away. You watch the sun fade away also. You hear that beeping sound. You find yourself squeezed and squeezed and squeezed, and you're climbing out of the earth, rolling out of it. You're lying on your back. The sky is black, filled with stars. The phone that's hidden with the rest of your stuff in the hollow of the tree near where you sink into the earth is beeping.
And she opens it.
When you reach for it, the first thing your hand touches is a medallion. When you pull it, you see it as a heron on it and traces of dried blood.
I think A frown touches her lips, and she brings it to her lips and places a kiss to it before tucking it back into her pocket.
You reach for the phone, you see a message from Helena.
Oh, I think she's gonna respond, when and where?
Tonight.
Somewhere quiet. I look
Okay.
like a mess.
Your pick.
And I think she just kind of like rattles off some local dive bar.
Farragut's on Farragut. An actual dive bar. As you finish that message, you see another one has come in while you were busy dreaming, seeing ghosts. It's a message from Lee. The message says, Deacon and the others from Toronto have arrived in town. Deacon's very interested in meeting you. The garage tonight, 1 a.m. The garage, you know, is a bar in Bricktown where the Anarchs hang.
Yeah, I think he gets a simple he gets a thumbs up emoji.
Okay. With a period.
And she's gonna open up the message to Helena and type is now okay.
She'll respond back quickly. Just OMW.
Yeah, I think she'll get up and close her phone and kind of dust any dirt off of her. Kind of rub her face, but there's no mirror around because she's still in the fucking park. So she's probably just smearing more dirt around on her face, but she's trying.
She's trying. She's doing what she can. As you set off into the night to meet Helena, we traveled back to the old bank where the meeting is taking place. Cassie, you've been talking to the Primogen for some time. You've explained to them what happened, to at least to some degree. Can you give me a basic idea, Cassie, just of like a very, very, very sort of summary of what you say and what you leave out?
So I will tell them that 6 years ago, after I had been embraced, I met a man who went by the Professor underneath the carcass of the Edgewater Hospital. He had told me of a woman named Odette, who he thought was the key to preventing some sort of creature from being released. And before I could learn any more, Aegis had raided the hospital, and while I had escaped, he had been captured and apparently tortured for information. And then he showed up again a few months ago, telling me of a woman named Ariadne, that he had been wrong about Odette. It wasn't just her, it was our bloodline, that there was this thread that traces through time and reality. And Ariadne has been keeping this being, the unnamed, at bay for nearly a millennia now, trapped in a sarcophagus with it that is beneath Chicago. And I had followed a quite literal thread to her, hoping to help her somehow. And I'm not sure what the nature of this being, this unnamed power is, but it seems to have the ability to shift reality, make you see things, people who aren't there, trying to lure you to it with the promises of wealth and power or whatever it is that you could want in life, in hopes that it will be released. And the Professor had an artifact on him that he called the True Cross that I had nailed to the creature and then to the sarcophagus after it had begun to escape. and I'm not sure how long that will hold it.
You tell them this story. They listen very intently. They don't reveal much as you tell the story. They're all fairly impassive and just kind of staring at you. A few of them, you're sure, reading your aura to see whether or not you're telling the truth. After your story, they ask a few questions that Nicola kind of fills out some of the ideas. They ask you to confirm that the professor is indeed dead. Do you show them the finger at that point?
Yeah, I'll kind of like sheepishly take the finger that's just been kind of chilling probably in my back pocket for the last few months and just kind of hold it up.
One of the ghouls will come over to you and have a handkerchief open, and the prince will say, leave that with us.
Cassie will seem a little bit hesitant, and she'll kind of look to Nicola for a little bit of reassurance as she does so.
Nicola will nod. After they've asked a few questions, you'll be asked to wait outside again. Once you're waiting outside, Nicola will reassure you. She'll say that she thinks things went really well. You did really good. Your story is quite impressive, and she would like at some point to, if you have time, to sit down and talk about it more in depth. She'd like to know more about the professor and Nightmare, what occurred to Nightmare, and things of that nature. At some point, the doors to the meeting room where the Primogen are discussing will open, and the Tremere Regent, Charlotte Rojas, will step out. You can see that most of the others are gone. It's just the prince and the seneschal left in the room that you were just in. The Tremere Regent will come up to you. As always, she is dressed in this very long black gown, and she has her red hair up. And it still comes down kind of in curls around her head. There's this power that you've come to associate with really, really, really old vampires. And I'm saying, you've met a few vampires that are supposedly a few hundred years old, but the ones that you've met that are some people whisper are 1,000 years old or more have this kind of ancient, almost alien presence to them. They have completely forgotten what it's like to be human. And any of those, those concerns sort of are completely erased from them. And she'll come in, and she just completely ignores Nicola, and she steps in front of you and looks down at you and says, there are many who believe that the Unnamed One is a myth. A story created by the Zimshi clan to give themselves validity and a bit of a pedigree that they do not possess otherwise.
Do you believe that?
No. I know for a fact that the Unnamed One exists. I thought you should know. I met Ariadne briefly a very long time ago in Constantinople. She sacrificed herself to save me and a number of others. We did not know back then what all of this entailed, and to hear this story coming from your lips now, the very descendant of Ariadne so many years later, well, it's chilling to one even who has seen as much as I have, to see that a creature's hatred and desire for vengeance can last for so long. I wanted to give you my personal thanks for what you did for not only the city, but for myself personally, because I have reason to believe that I might have been one of the particular targets of this creature. Is it true that... would you have told them that you sunk the Unnamed One under the lake? Yeah. The prince may ask you to know where the Unnamed One lies, and of course you must obey your prince in all things, but I would caution you and say that any who would search for such creature certainly do not have the well-being of the world in mind. I will grant you a small boon for what you've done for me. Should you ever need assistance or help, I will do what I can to help you. You're friends with Helena, are you not?
Yes.
You would do well to steer very clear of Helena. The darkness that roils in her blood and in her soul is all-consuming, and very soon will cease to make the difference between friend and foe.
Do you know a lot about visions?
I know some. You mean of ghosts or illusions?
Omens, maybe?
I have read the Bones a few times.
I saw a snake wrapping around Helena's neck.
The followers of Set, Helena's bloodline, are devoted to darkness. They believe that this world is entirely corrupt and beyond saving and should be ushered to its destruction rather than any effort be made to help it perhaps save itself. This darkness to them, this void, is the ultimate goal. There is nothing else for them. Eventually, everything must fall into this void and disappear and be consumed.
And you think Helena believes that as well?
It's in her blood. Whether she might have believed it or not at some other point is immaterial. In time, the blood, much like the snake in your vision, will ensnare her completely. And like her sire, Bahari, she will become purely an agent of void and destruction, preparing the world for the return of that.
Is that why you have Hayden keeping such a close eye on her?
When you know you have a nest of vipers in your backyard, it's always best to know exactly how many there are in the nest and what they're up to. Be wary. You've done us a great service. I would hate to see your hard work and sacrifice unmade by someone who has deep corruption running in their blood.
Can I do an aura read on her?
You can. She is way too high generation compared to you.
So she won't let me?
No. You're literally going to see nothing.
I'm just a little guy.
Just a little guy.
Would I be able to use my oracular ability then? That's my I can see and interpret signs and omens.
Sure. What would you like to try and interpret here?
I don't know. I want to look into Helena. I want to see if I can see anything through Charlotte Rojas about her future with Helena. If she's going to end up beheading the vipers in the nest.
Make a perception plus occult roll. Your target is going to be 7.
Oh, I actually do have decent occult. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 successes.
Any ones in there?
Nope. A lot of 3s though.
You see... Can you remind me your question? I just want to make sure that I address the question.
I want to see if there's going to be any sort of altercation between Charlotte Rojas and Helena in the future, if there's going to be any sort of sides to pick.
You see a nest of serpents, all kind of intermingled, all kind of woven together. You see a hand dive into it, pull out the biggest one, pull it out, and as that one is pulled out of the nest, a moment later you see blood and the head drop down into the nest, and all the others turn around and start to gnaw at the head that's been chopped off. Thanks, Rob, for those bits. Rob, Phantom MJ, has dropped you guys some bits for another night move.
And Queacher.
Queacher also.
Queacher.
Oh, Queacher also. Thank you very much, Queacher. Sorry, I missed it.
Thanks, guys.
So two night moves for everyone. Go ahead now and give me an intelligence plus occult roll to see if you can interpret it. I'll give you a 6 on that one.
Smart guy.
Thank you, gang. We really appreciate all the support.
4.
Oh,
5
Bradley.
successes.
Sorry. Go ahead, Marian.
5 successes.
Okay. Bradley coming in hot with 2,000 bits. Each of you gets 2 night moves from Bradley. Thank you so much, Bradley. Single-handedly keeping the lights on in this place.
You mean 4?
Yeah,
We can do
sorry.
math.
Yeah, 2 per.
Definitely.
Don't make me do math. Swear to God,
extra.
I'll riot.
Start using them. Thank you so much, Bradley. I really appreciate it. You get the feeling that this omen means that she has cut off the head that she wants to cut off, and she herself has no longer a personal vested interest in the nest itself. But you get the sense that there's still something slightly unfinished. But you get
So
the feeling that she
I'm
herself...
getting the sense that Helena's not the target. It's someone else, someone bigger.
Yeah, and you get the feeling that that was taken care of. And you kind of get the feeling that her warning you about Helena is kind of like her last, I've done what I had to do with this kind of thing. But that there's still something in there that's unfinished, but that's kind of hard to figure out exactly what it is. But you get the sense that it's not going to come from her.
I think Cassie's going to kind of look at her in the eye, just very wide-eyed, unblinking, and she's going to thank her for the advice.
You see, she's about to say something, but then she stops herself. She nods to Nicola, good luck, he says to her. And then she looks at you again, she goes, remember, now you boom. And she walks out, and as she does, the prince, you see the prince looking at you, and then Mariska comes out and closes the door behind her, and the prince disappears from view, but Mariska comes over, and she says, well, Cassie, you did very good today. It seems you convinced the Primogen. The prince would like me to inform you, and you, Nicola, that the previous ban on Malkavians will be expanded to a certain degree. You are now allowed to have up to 7 members of your clan in the city. The Primogen will convene again 1 month from now to discuss the question of the Primogen seat, and once we have ascertained that the professor is indeed dead, and once we have looked into the matter a little further, a decision will be made as to whether or not your clan will be allowed to sit on the Primogen Council. We would suggest, Nicola, that you reach out to some elders of your clan that might be interested in making Chicago their home, as one does need to be an elder to sit at the table. I can kind of tell that deflates Nicola a little bit, like she's been kind of angling to be the Primogen. But she looks at you, Cassie, and she says, you did very good in there today. You should be proud of yourself. The prince has ordered me to bestow upon you a status. You will be henceforth recognized throughout the city for your actions in its name. The Keeper Elysium and the Harpies will make sure the people who need to know about this. Prince wants me to tell you that the city owes you a great debt. That we thank you.
You're welcome. Does that come with any perks or?
I'm sure Nicola can explain.
Oh,
Nicola.
Okay.
She turns around and leaves. When you turn back to Nicola, you see that she's kind of got an arched eyebrow, and she's looking at you a little bit kind of like, what about
Do I
me?
get free drinks or?
No, but you will be treated with a bit more respect by elders.
Oh.
Moving
That's
on
kinda
forward.
nice.
You can add a point of status on your sheet. I've heard from someone that you might be interested in meeting. Perhaps someone who will not quite fit the bill of elder, but there is a woman named Georgina True. I am given to understand that she is of your bloodline.
I think she was. Odette was her sire, I think.
In any case, she is coming from New York, and she has expressed interest in meeting you when she comes, so we will arrange that. In the meantime, perhaps we will reach out to the other members of the clan in the city and convene and discuss how we might best use this opportunity we've been given.
I think that Cassie's gonna take hold of Nicola's hand. I'm sorry, Nicola. I know that you were kind of hoping to be given that seat, and I think that of all the people, I think that you deserve it the most, to be honest.
Well, ageism is a real thing amongst us, ma'am.
How old is an elder? How old are you? Is that rude to ask?
I am not quite 100 years old.
Oh.
Generally speaking, we consider those of 300 or 400 years or more to be. I
think Cassie sighs really heavily as she thinks about living for 300 or 400 years and suddenly starts having an existential crisis.
Do you have any interest in the political side of our world? I know you had never really expressed any interest before, but perhaps things have changed.
Well, I think it's navigating this new life has been a little weird. I've always been the type of person to just kind of fall to the wayside and try to blend in, but I think that that's probably not going to work for very much longer. And I think maybe having friends in high places is a good thing.
Just be careful, these are waters that are filled with sharks, and once you dip a toe in it, it's very difficult to pull it back without it getting...
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
If you were in my position with Helena, what would you do?
The blood that runs through our veins is extremely powerful. I think you've seen enough example of that with your own blood to know that, to hope that someone who was once merely a mortal human has any chance of fighting against it for very long. If you wish to have friends in high places within the halls of the Camarilla, you will not be allowed to remain friends with a snake for very long.
I appreciate your honesty.
I know it's hard to give up on the last few things that tie us to the mortal life that we once had. I know you weren't friends with Helena before, but that the circumstances of your embrace have made you de facto friends. The faster you let go of the old life, the quicker you can start building it.
Okay. I guess that makes sense.
Go. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We have a lot of work to do, but it can wait till tomorrow. You did well today, Cassie.
Thanks. I can't wait to try out my new status. I hope I get free drinks.
I think you'll probably find it's both less useful and more useful than that. As you step out, what would Cassie be doing? Where would Cassie be heading? You step out into the night. Nicola takes off. You're left alone, listening to the sirens and the sounds of Chicago at night. Where would you like to go?
I think Cassie is gonna she's gonna go look for Cora. I think she's kind of been keeping up a little bit more with Cora now that the secrets between the two are sort of been broken down. It feels less like she has to hide in an effort to not lie to Cora now. So she's definitely been in more frequent contact.
Interestingly enough, as you text her to see what she's doing, she responds with, "I was just about to call you. Do you have time to meet up tonight? There's someone I would like you to meet."
Cassie with her T9 text. Yeah, tell me where and when.
Smiley face.
Smiley face.
She responds with the name of a park that's not too far off. And you set off on your way to meet Cora. Creep and Bones, I'm going to ask you a little question here. We're going to go to the two of you meeting. Would you like to take the break now and do that after, or would you like to do that first? I'll leave that up to you.
Break?
Break.
Wake
is fine.
Break is fine?
Yeah,
Very
break.
well then. Let us take a break. We will take a break here, my friends. My friends, we're back. For the break, Cassie received some status from the prince and is looking forward to turning it in for some free drinks. Helena has realized that everyone thinks she's evil. She's been working so hard to not be seen as. These things happen, and Creep Cry. Regular night out here at Folk&Myth. Thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out with us. As we return to Chicago and find ourselves at what kind of place did you give Helena a rendezvous at? A dive bar, Farragut's on Farragut, which is an actual party. A little, very regular kind of locals dive bar. In Chicago, it's not Pabst Blue Ribbon. There's another beer that's like kind of a local beer that they're really into, and there's a big Malort sign in the window.
No, not the Malort.
Yep, the Malort.
Feels bad.
Who arrives first?
I imagine Helena already being in the city would probably make it there first.
Old Style, yes. Old Style is the beer that's big in Chicago, so there's an Old Style sign. But thanks you, Vlad. Thanks, Vlad.
Can I make an assumption that Helena knows the owner from the local businessmen's meeting clubs?
I'm gonna say
Yes.
that I'm going to look at your character sheet, and I'm going to see
think
that you have herd, retainers, mentor, resources, influence. Oh, I did. I know you redid your character sheet, and I had given you a couple of free resource points, and one of them was a resource. That should be 3.
Okay.
And I had given you, I think, influence. I give you those two up. Those two were extra points that I'd given you for taking over Bahari's things. I'm gonna say, go ahead and roll your charisma plus your streetwise.
Okay. My charisma is 2, and my streetwise
Yep, target's 6.
is 5. I'm very powerful. Wow.
You're very
2,
streetwise.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What's my target?
6.
Okay, I got 1, 2, 3, 4 successes, no ones.
Excellent. Yep, you happen to know him. His name is Jimmy. Jimmy
Okay.
DeGrasso.
Okay, that's fine.
And his name should be Jimmy Farragut, who owns Farragut's on Farragut. That's really his name.
Okay, that's fine.
In fact, I'm
I don't
changing that. His name is Jeremy. Jeremy
Okay.
Farragut. Jeremy, you're now part of this game officially.
I think Helena does not use that power for evil. She does not tell the bartender she knows the owner.
Okay.
But I imagine that Helena would find a cozy little corner to sit in.
Not a problem. At the very end of the bar, there's a couple little booths. Slide into one. You wait. At some point, you see Teddy roll in.
Helena gives a little over here.
She slips into the booth, sitting across from you.
I imagine Helena already has a drink. It's like cider, something sweet. And she's sort of like tapping her nails on the glass a little bit. How long has it been since Teddy and Helena have seen each other?
I imagine that Teddy would have visited you, but it would have been a lot less after knowing that you had that that wolf statue. Something about it just put her on edge. She didn't like to be around it.
Did you two ever discuss what happened to that wolf statue? Because it happened in the one shot that we did with Helena, so I don't know if Teddy would know what happened.
I think Helena would have told her.
Okay.
I think she would have told her what happened with Hayden. She wouldn't necessarily have explained all of the Bali stuff, per se. But I think she would have summed it up as her and Hayden almost had some falling out, and it was over the statue, and she destroyed it.
Okay, then yeah, I think once that was done, you would have noticed that Teddy would have like started coming around more, stopping by the shop, checking in on you, like
Yeah.
here and there.
I think the moment that Teddy slides in, then she sort of like leans in and smiles and gives her a, "How's it going?"
It's not bad. Just, trying to sort my thought outs. A bar?
Yeah, change of pace. Shop's well managed. And weird dreams.
Weird dreams?
Yeah, just nightmares.
What kind of nightmares?
Just seeing people that I didn't think I'd see again.
Are you sure they're dreams?
Yeah, fairly certain. I wake up in bed after them.
I had a dream too.
Yeah?
So one I didn't think I would see again. But it didn't feel like a dream.
Nightmare or otherwise?
I don't think it was a nightmare. No. No, it's kind of nice. Like seeing an old friend.
It's good though. Keep that. Maybe you could lucid dream it. If it was a dream.
I don't think it was.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I have something.
Like?
She's going to take the piece of paper that she had written that agency down on and slide it over to Teddy.
Teddy looks at it. Does she know this agency from her past?
I'm gonna ask you to go ahead and do the same thing I asked Helena to do a little bit earlier. So give me a charisma and streetwise roll.
All right. What's my target?
6 also.
Oh, okay. That's 3 successes.
Yeah, so it's the kind of, they're kind of a step below sort of where you were, where like that party that she was talking about, that orange white party, they would not have been quite high enough to get in there, but they're still kind of like one of the agencies that, fairly high level corporate people and stuff like that, or musicians and things like that, we'll call it. They're just kind of still like not super elite.
Would I have known if other kindred worked for them?
I would say that as far as you know, there were no kindred involved, or maybe at the ownership level or something like that, but that there were no kindred escorts. There might have been ghoul.
Okay. Wow, that's a name I haven't seen in a while. What do you want to know about him?
I'm going to buy them out.
Why? What's the goal? The angle?
Some of their clientele has some pretty interesting information on our kind. Might be talking to some people that you might be familiar with.
Go on.
Aegis, Homeland Security, big parties and whatnots. Too much of a conversation for me to be comfortable with. And you're here because I would like some insight. I'm a shopowner, but I have the funds to take over, I think.
Why are you digging around specifically with Aegis?
I wasn't digging. Somebody like me was. One of the girls that works for this company.
All right. So what, you see this as a means for more information?
More information and more importantly, control over what information skirts around the Masquerade.
Yeah, well, these guys are just getting scraps. They're not. They're big dogs.
There's a party they're invited to. With some...
Wait. A party?
Yeah, some sex party.
Oh. Maybe they've climbed a few rungs of the ladder. That's not typically something they're invited to.
Just to make sure that there's no misunderstanding here. There was no mention, Bones, that they had been invited to this party. She overheard someone talking about it, and she said that to be invited to that party was like the holy grail of being an escort in Chicago. Just to make sure that you're, you can say that if you want them.
Yeah. I don't know if they're invited, but
we're talking or and white here. Big penthouse, a lot of rich guys throwing around money.
Listen, my girl's clientele has an invite, I think, some conversation about a party. And if I can get more information, worm my way in.
Why are you interested? Why do you want to be there?
I don't necessarily want to be there. I want to make that very clear. Not really looking to get my tail sniffed, but Again, I want to control what information is going on about us.
If you want my opinion, I think you need to leave it alone.
There's another part to it.
What's that?
These girls sort of look up to me a little bit. Empowerment, right? Take destiny by the dick and lead with it. I'd like to keep it that way. Keep them in that empowered role.
I feel like you probably should have led with that.
Does the order of the conversation really matter that much?
A little bit. Maybe. To me, at least. I'm just saying maybe you shouldn't go fucking around with these kind of people. Especially not if they're sniffing around Aegis.
Do you ever just get sick of not doing whatever the fuck you want, then?
What does that mean?
We have a
Not
chance.
doing what I want?
I have a chance. We have a chance to make sure that Aegis can suck its own cock and go somewhere else. Leave us alone. If I can get more information on that, then a shadowy hand, if you will, to steer the ship. And this agency here might be a way to do that. Plus, extra side hustle.
Well, that agency isn't getting into that party, I can promise you that, so...
No, but they know people who do.
Right. You know, I want just as badly as you do to cut the head off of Aegis. Probably more so if we're really getting down to brass tacks here.
Yeah.
But I think that there's other ways to go about it. And roping a bunch of innocent women into this maybe isn't the best way.
I don't want their hands in it, to be honest. I just want the name to be able to get my hands on it.
Yeah, but that gets their hands dirty. Just as much as yours.
That's fair.
I don't know, I
get it.
see the appeal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just be careful, you know, you're playing with other people's lives, Helena.
Yeah. I don't want to get these girls hurt. I'd like to look out for them if I can. Maybe ditch the Aegis idea for now. Take over this company. I'd love to have somebody on who knows how to look out for these girls properly. Payroll. I'd be your HR manager.
Are you offering me a job?
I think I've offered you a job at the shop several times. Contract work.
Yeah. You know, I really care about you, and I'm gonna have to turn that down. There's still a open wound there with that kind of work, so...
Listen. Yes or no, you're still my friend. I thought I'd throw it out there, but if you change your mind, the offer stands.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Just, you know, watch where you're stepping with this. You might step in shit.
My grandma told me once that every time I fall in shit, I come out smelling like flowers, so I'll be careful, though.
Yeah. Just, you know, you got my number.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Listen, like I said, side hustle. A little extra on the bankroll.
I think she's going to lean forward and kind of clasp her hand over yours. Just be careful. You know, power isn't everything.
I think she'll put her other hand over yours and sort of look you directly in the eye for probably too long in a relatively pregnant pause. Yeah, I know.
Okay. Can I get a read on her?
I mean, like, try to see if she's being honest. Now, you don't have aspects, do you?
No, I don't.
So, you can go ahead and make, I'm going to have you make a straight up perception roll.
Mm-hmm.
And subterfuge. Perception and subterfuge.
Okay. What's my target?
Your target is going to be 6.
It's just 2 successes.
What's your willpower, Bones?
I have no willpower. Oh wait, hold on. Yes, I do. I have no humanity. 5 max. Currently, I'm sitting at 4.
Okay. So I'm gonna say that she's difficult to read. I think that as, you know, a professional liar, I think Helena probably has enough control over her delivery of things that should be difficult to read. However, I'm going to tell Bones to give us a little bit more information on, you know, Helena's demeanor right now. And is Helena trying to sound truthful? Is she being neutral? Is she, you know, like, it's not a question of creep has rolled really high, now she knows your secret. It's just like, you give us a read on how Helena's, you know, presenting this, and
I think
just a bit more information on that, and we'll creep will have to kind of sort out for herself what she feels that means. I
think that Helena's default is always a little bit, for lack of better words, slithery. That's just sort of her normal behavior and demeanor. But I think that what Teddy would see would be an earnestness in her, in the way she speaks. But there is just that corner of her mouth upturned, just the tick of a grin that almost looks like the smile on a snake, that probably, again, looks normal to Helena and for Teddy to see, but it gives her that sort of edge there of dishonesty.
So that's her secret, Cap. She always looks like she's lying.
Yeah, I think so. Like, honestly, I think that's sort of like Helena's like MO is she always looks dishonest, and she always looks fucking like just weird and shady, and so that's just par for the course. I think that's just her. It's like resting bitch face. It's like a resting lying face.
I think for Teddy, like the way that Helena went about it and the choice of verbiage was pretty telling for Teddy and her current opinion on what's going on and how she feels. But the role was really to see if she noticed any more cracks in the facade. I think at that point she's gonna kind of pull her hand away and say, I gotta go deal with some stuff tonight, but just let me know if you need anything.
You need backup for anything?
No, nothing that's serious, and go meet up with Lee.
I worry about you sometimes, Teddy. I just want you to make sure that you're safe too. Same goes for you. Just call me.
Of course. Yeah. No, I think I'm as safe as any of us are.
You're a tough girl.
Yeah, you too.
I just got Hayden to do all my barking for me.
Yeah. Well, seen him lately?
He's been away.
That's interesting. You guys are normally inseparable.
Yeah, he'll have some groveling to do whenever he gets back.
What's he up to?
Wish I could tell you, he doesn't answer my calls.
Secret business.
Yeah. You know how. Sad boys, right?
Yeah. Gonna go deal with my own, I guess.
They're so cute, though.
Yeah, I guess.
Go take care of Lee and your business. I'll catch up with you later, okay?
Yeah, have a good night.
See ya.
As the two of you head out into the night, I would like to thank Kurt very much for the extra night moves that Kurt has thrown your way. Say, extra night moves.
Thanks, Kurt.
Thanks, Kurt.
I want it known that Helena did leave a nice tip. She's a good tipper.
Just the tip?
Just the tip.
Yep. It's just a rattle tail. Goblin mode. Cassie, as this is going on, Cassie, you find yourself arriving at Brantford Park, where you were given an appointment by Cora. As you walk around a little bit, you soon see her sitting at a bench. You recognize her right away, of course. The person she's with, or someone you've never seen before. He is looks to be about her age. He's blonde with shaved heads. He's got a lot of tattoos and piercings, and also he's wearing like just this kind of vest, and he's got these baggy pants. He's got a backpack, like this big sort of military style backpack with him that's got all sorts of stuff in it. And to be honest, he looks like he's probably like, a street kid or someone who's homeless, someone who lives on the street. Like he's got like a big bag with a bunch of different things in it and whatnot, and he looks like pretty kind of grotty and like someone who, he looks smelly, like someone who lives kind of rough a little bit. And he's kind of just saying, and he looks kind of nervous as you approach. He's kind of just hanging back, and Cora will come, and when she sees you, she's like, "Hey, Cassie," and she comes over and she gives you a big hug, and she's like, "Hey, how you doing?"
Good. You an interesting friend you have?
Oh, yeah, Cassie. This is my friend Lucas. Lucas, This is my friend Cassie that I was telling you about.
He kind of looks like, I imagine a Cassie. He looks like the dudes that she used to hang out with and do nefarious things with. So she's like got an eye on him.
He's like, hey, how you doing?
Good. Right? Is this like who you wanted me to meet, or?
Yeah. Do you have a few minutes to sit down and hang out with us?
sounds like you're going to give me bad news. Are you about to give me bad
No,
news?
no. Look, Lucas is a good friend of mine. He's got a bit of a problem, and I thought perhaps you might be able to help him with it.
Oh, yeah. Is he like...
Yeah, he's not the same tribe as me, but he's...
Oh, you guys, is that how that works? It's like, we have like our plans, you have your...
Yeah, I guess similar like that. For us, it's more cultural in some ways, but
societal systems, and it's kind of weird thing to wrap your head around sometimes when you're not used to it.
Yeah, in some ways. Lucas is it's from the Bonar tribe. They tend to live in cities much more than the rest of us do.
I think Cassie is gonna like walk over to like the bench and just like sit down, clasp her hands together. So what can I help you with?
He looks at you, and he's not looking at you like super suspicious. He just kind of like seems unsure, you know. And he looks at Corey. He's like, "Sure about this, man? I mean, you know, look, no offense, but she's one of them, you know." Like, or says, "You remember what you told me? Like, you're gonna need someone who lives in that world to help you with this situation. And this is the one person I know. And I mean, I've known Cassie for a very long time. We've been friends since before any of this started. So, I mean, I trust her with my life. She's my sister." So he looks. He's like, "Okay. Look, no offense. I don't got personal beef. You know, with you or yours. Yeah, I have a friend. Charlie. He's kind of young. I kind of took him under my wing. He's been living in the streets for a while, and he's just a kid, you know, and he's just kind of comes from a broken home and just had a lot of difficulty, and he ended up on the streets after he ran away, and I just stumbled upon him, and I just wanted to help him, and so it was pretty clear he shouldn't go back to his home. So, you know, I just kind of tried to steer him and guide him and kind of, you know, make sure nothing bad happens to him. I mean, you know, it's a pretty rough place, so just looking out, you know, like he's just a kid. He just needs, like, you know, someone older who like actually cares about him and, like, you know, wants to do right by him. That's all he really needs.
I think Lucas and Cora would watch as Cassie was like very intently, but like she was kind of like smiling, like, yeah, I want to be helpful. This is Cora. This is my sister. I want to be helpful to her. And then as he is describing this kid, he's describing younger Cassie, and you can see Cassie sort of her shoulders sinking a little bit, the smile slowly turning into a frown as she's sort of nodding very seriously, listening to Lucas.
So, I haven't seen him in a few days. It's not like him to not be around. And I mean, I asked enough to know that, you know, it's not like a thing where his body showed up somewhere or whatever. Like, I talked to Cora about it, and she said you might be able to help me because Charlie kind of fell in with these people. I don't know if you know about them, but there's kind of like this self-help group that's kind of running in the underground here. They're like talking about personal empowerment, and like they're offering community and help and stuff like that, and they're kind of preying on people that really don't have anything else. And
so
like,
a cult?
Yeah, kind of like that. Kind of like a cult, I guess you could call it. I don't know. I guess they have meetings and stuff. And
is there like Kool-Aid involved, or?
No, not Kool-Aid stuff, but like.
I don't drink the Kool-Aid.
No, I told him not to drink. I like a good Kool-Aid, you know. Like, it's been a while since I've had Kool-Aid, but I feel like a good really cold cherry
I
Kool-Aid.
like grape.
You like grape? Grape's not bad.
Flavor.
Yeah, grape's pretty... Yeah. Okay, look, we'll talk about Kool-Aid after. So, I don't know much about them. The only thing, he got like this mark on his neck, and it's kind of like, and he draws it. He's like, it's kind of like an Egyptian eye thing. And he draws like an eye of Horus. He's like, on his neck. He got it a couple of days ago, and then he kind of appeared. And word on the street is that this cult is run by some of your people.
Do you know who exactly?
I have no clue. I don't know anything about it. I just know that there's a lot more people recently that are kind of getting involved in this thing. And Charlie's gone, man. And if there's anything you can do, like maybe ask around, see if there's anything. Like, I just want Charlie to be alright. Like, I got no problems with your people, like I know some of my brethren, they really hate you and your kind, but I mean, I live in the city. I know what it's like, and like I've never been done wrong by any of you. I really just want to find Charlie, man. That kid has nothing. That kid did not have parents, bounced around, foster homes, got abused, was just like, when running away and living out on the street when you're 15 years old is like better than anything else that you could find at home. Like, that's pretty hardcore. And
yeah, I get it, man. I get it. I'll see what I can do. I'll do some asking around and everything.
Would you? I mean, that'd be really cool of you. I have I don't really have a picture, but I draw a little bit, and he kind of gives you this. He reaches in his pocket, and he pulls out this crumpled paper, and he kind of unfurls it, and you see this charcoal sketch of a kid. Looks like maybe like a pretty young, gender kind of indeterminate kid with a black toucan and like a jacket, and it's pretty well rendered. Like you feel that if you saw this kid, you would recognize him. This guy's got some.
I think Cassie's gonna like stare at this for a moment and be like, "Wow, this is like really. You should like do this for like a career. This is really good."
Thanks. Yeah, I do a little bit. Like I'm a tattoo artist, and he shows you some of his tattoos. I did a lot of these, and but I don't like charging for it. I feel kind of like, the one good thing I have going for me, like the one way I can bring a little bit of beauty in this world is with my art, and I feel that like charging for it would kind of cheapen it a little bit. So, like if someone wants to give me a sandwich, or maybe a fucking shot of Malort or something, or
Cassie scrunches her nose at the Malort.
Yeah, I know, but it keeps you warm at night. Those cold Chicago nights. So I'll trade something for it, but like I don't need much. Like I'm pretty, I'm okay. I don't need a lot. I just want for Charlie to be alright.
Okay. And Cassie's just gonna shove her cell phone in his hand. You want to just like put your number? Do you have a cell phone? That was really rude of me to just assume that you had a cell phone.
Oh, yeah, of course I got a cell phone. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, give me that. And he takes your phone. He's like, girl, I don't want to be an asshole, but I have a better phone than you do.
It's not a lack of money. It's a lifestyle choice.
Oh, you know what? I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
I respect that. That's great. All right.
Yeah. I like side glance to Cora.
Cora rolls her eyes, picks out her iPhone, fiddling around with it. How do you put a phone number in this thing? Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah, you go over. Yeah, you go to menu.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was looking for the rotary dial, but I couldn't find it.
No.
Not
that old.
Yeah, I know. I'm just joking, Dad. Please don't. Yeah, don't kill him.
I wouldn't. Probably.
No,
I don't know.
Oh,
you never know what the future holds.
Exactly. It's very uncertain, this world. Hey, speaking of uncertain, what's your sign?
Like my...
Yeah, your sign, like your astrological sign. You know?
Gemini.
Okay, yeah.
It's
that
kind of
explains a lot.
ironic, being a Malkavian and also being a Gemini. I think that's kind of
What's a Malkavian exactly?
we're the crazy ones.
That's funny, like, because people consider us the crazy ones with our thing. They just don't understand, like, they see us like, and just because, like, we like to live in a city and we like to, kind of live a little bit free and we don't really need a home and stuff like that, like, they kind of think we're crazy just because we don't think the way they do.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's like here with, like, the other kindred. They don't really understand the way that our minds work, so they're often just
Yeah,
push
kind
us
of
to the side.
bemused by it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what that
We're not
feels
so
like.
different, you and I.
No, except that, you burn in the sun and I transform into a big airy thing that, but, those are
Tomato,
small.
tomato.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Corey, your friend's pretty cool. Sorry. Like,
Just smile
Oh, they
awkwardly
are.
at Cora.
all right. So you think you can help with that, Cassie? I mean, I'd really appreciate it. Lucas is a good friend. He's helped me out of some tight spots before.
Now, this is me asking you, Bleak, as a storyteller.
Yeah.
Would I have any inkling as to what Helena has been up to?
I don't know. You? Helena, how much does Cassie know about what you do?
I think that Cassie and Teddy would know that Helena is really into underground architecture at the moment. I think they would know that she's built a temple in the name of Set. I think that is
So yeah.
normal things. No, I don't know. That's a great question. I think that they know she's moved out of her apartment at the shop, that she's living somewhere underground, that she's just...
We knew that you had this weird following of goth kids at one point.
Yeah, and I think that would be sort of her excuse, is that she's just indoctrinated more goth kids.
Okay. I think that on the way back to her apartment, Cassie is going to shoot Helena a text. Hey, did you start a cult?
Why do you ask? Very abrupt of you.
Kid missing, was asked about him. Had Eye of Horus tattoo on neck.
What's his name?
Charlie.
Do I know anybody under that name?
No, but at this point, you have no clue.
That's fair.
There's like several layers. There's like the people like Val that are kind of in their circle. They come to
Yeah.
So, but then you have people that are out in the streets and they run soup kitchens, they run missions, they run youth groups, they run things like that, and they're slowly just kind of pipelining people.
Blake, how many cult followers do I have?
Well, so people like Val, I would say you probably have like, 25, 30 like serious people that come to ceremonies and stuff like that. But then each of them, it's fucking Amway, right? Like each of them has like 5 people, and each of those 5 people have 5 people, and like, there's kind of a pipeline that slowly brings people to you. So you probably have a reach of several hundred people throughout the city.
Oh, so it's like Avon. MLM systems, got it.
Yeah.
It's a pyramid.
Basically, you're like fucking, what's her name? Mary Kay.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you get a pink car?
I don't think Helena
It's
knows how to
black
drive.
with a Eye of Horus.
I
So
don't...
the Eye of Horus thing, that's not something you do.
No.
But you totally would know, you would totally like expect some of the people in the fringer parts of your thing to do that kind of stuff.
I think Helena will take a while to text back, but when she does, she will say, things might have gotten a little bit weird, but I don't recognize the name or the tattoo. I can ask around.
I think you get a message back that just says yes please, and then another message that's a frowny face.
I think that she'll text back and say, I'll take care of it for you. And then a little like heart emoji.
She sends the back less than 3.
That makes Helena happy.
And when Helena is happy, the city trembles. Teddy. Heading to Bricktown?
Yeah.
I've heard about this this guy. So Toronto in Canada is an Anarch city. It's run by the Anarchs. Cameron's done it. And one of the big shots there is this guy named Deacon, and you heard that as the Anarch movement was gaining a bit of juice here in Chicago, that a call had been placed. This is all stuff you kind of picked up from Lee, because your involvement with the Anarch group is kind of fringe at this point. That some big shot Anarch guy from Toronto was coming down, this guy named Deacon. The place where the Anarchs hang out is this kind of bar headquarters thing called a garage. It used to be an actual garage, and there were apartment buildings on top of it, and that had all been gutted. And a number of the Anarchs ride motorcycles and stuff, so they used the garage for that stuff. But then the second floor has like pool tables, and it's kind of like, a clubhouse kind of thing a little bit. You show up there around 1 in the morning at the appointed time. You see a number of motorcycles kind of, curled up in front, and you get the feeling that a lot of the Anarchs are here. The Anarchs kind of come and go a little bit. There's only a certain number of them in the city, but outside, like going into Gary or some of the outlying cities and stuff like that, are a bit more. So there's probably like 15 or so, maybe 20 kind of regular Anarchs that kind of make Chicago their home. And there's at least them plus a few more that are here tonight as you approach. You walk up back there. Well, there's like a fire escape that's been permanently kind of welded open so that you can climb up. You climb up it, you hear the music playing. There's some rock music that's playing on a boombox somewhere. And when you walk in, they're kind of all sitting around, talking, smoking, drinking. And it's kind of like a low-key party kind of going on, but there's a fair number of them around, and you spot Lee somewhere in the back, and he's talking to a couple of people that you can't quite make out, and he kind of catches your eye. Do you want to do anything before you talk to Lee, or what would you like to do?
No, I think she kind of nods at him, and just kind of moves off to the side, waiting for him to come to her, not wanting to interrupt his conversation. How long would she have been coming here around these people?
I would say probably like, a month or so, like since, about a month or so, maybe. Like the movement only kind of started really kind of gaining steam back then, and you only kind of found out from Lee that he was kind of involved in it about a been coming sporadically around then. Not enough to be considered part of them, but enough that they don't turn you away when you show up, kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like she wouldn't be like fully comfortable with just kind of like walking up on a conversation. I think at this point she would still feel like an outsider. So yeah, I think she would kind of step in and to the side and kind of wait for Lee to come over to her.
He doesn't make you wait very long. He excuses himself from this conversation, and he comes up, he grabs a couple of buds on the way in, and as he comes over and hands you the bud, you hear a snickering in the back of your mind. Fucking bud. Horse piss.
I think like it just slips off her tongue so easily without even a thought of what she's doing, and she said, "The horse piss, really?"
What? It's a fucking bud. You like bud.
Right. And she just kind of like sets it down. on like a table next to her.
All right. You want something else? I think there's some paps.
No, I'm all right.
Fine.
But
you've been here,
so-
right? And he kind of dusts you a little bit as dirt falls off your jacket.
I think she tenses slightly when he does this. Yeah, I've been okay. Had a real interesting conversation with Helena. Apparently she is looking into the acquisition of an escort service and invited me to come work.
As
So
an
kind
escort?
of her. No, clerical, but still. I don't know what the fuck she was thinking there.
Kind of surprised she doesn't own an escort service already.
Yeah, I'm just not so keen on her motive. She's dropping that word Aegis.
Oh, the guys use. Oh, you can see like because you remember he got shot up.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of like when you say that he kind of winces a little bit, and takes a long pull on the beer. And he's like, "What do you mean she's dropping that name? Don't have to do."
I'm not quite sure yet what she's doing, to be honest, but it's a little weird. Smells a little bit like shit.
Fucking everything about her smells like. Still hanging out with her.
Look, I came into this with her, so she's still my friend, and I still care about her.
All right. Look, you do what you got to do, but I don't know. If I was you, I'd start reconsidering that particular relationship. Like, people are gonna get wise to her at some point, and it's not gonna go well. Like, I don't know that you want to be painted with the same brush when they started,
Right. Just do what I'm gonna do. I'm sorry, I'm not really in the business of just abandoning people when things get hard.
Yeah, okay. All right, look, I didn't call you here to go fucking 3 rounds on the mat. Deacon's here from Toronto, along with Hyacinth, and he asked to talk to you. I talked to him about you a little bit, and he's interested in meeting you. Honestly, I think he's
Why
gonna.
does he want to talk to me?
I think he's gonna try to recruit you to the cause. You do what you want to do. Talk to him a little bit. He's a nice guy.
What'd you say about me?
Nothing. I
What's he
just said
know?
that you and I used to, hang around a lot, and that I felt that your disposition was probably one that would be suited to, what we're trying to do here. That you're not, really a kind of dyed-in-the-wool Camarilla, and that you might have an interest in sort of what we're doing. And in any case, I think he wants to ask you for a favor or something. So, just talk to the guy. He's, you don't have to fucking buy a membership card or anything. Just talk to the guy and see what he wants.
I think she kind of like looks around and lets her eyes kind of fall across everyone sitting around, smoking, drinking, listening to music, and eventually her eyes drift back to Lee. And what are we doing here?
Well, I think ask 100 Anarchs what they're doing here and you'll get 100 different answers, but by and large, what we're doing is forging our own path. The Sabbat are a bunch of fucking animals. The Camarilla are a bunch of fucking animals in nice suits who pretend that they're not fucking animals. And they're all interested in power and control structures and keeping people under their thumb, and we're interested in saying that, we are quite fucking capable of self-determination and deciding what we want to do and how we want to live, and that, the old ways have to fucking, remember that song? Sisters of Mercy, Empire Down? That's kind of what this is all about.
All right. Where's Deacon? You said his name was...
He points over, and when he does, you see a man sitting there surrounded by a bunch of people, and he's kind of like talking to them. He looks like an older fella, he's got a big white beard, a little black beanie on. He looks like maybe he's in like his late 60s. As you're looking around, he looks over, sees you. Does a little hey thing and keeps talking. People around him seem to be pretty invested in what he's saying.
I think she nods in response and then kind of looks back at Lee. So am I just supposed to go over there and sit down?
I'll go tell him you're here and he'll come and see you. How about that? You like it when people come over to you? I'll ask if he wants to come over. You would just sit here.
Right. She sits. But then she sits for like 2 seconds and then she's like, I'm not gonna fucking sit. He just told me to sit. And she like stands back up.
He looks like he's about to say something else and then shakes his head and he goes, all right, and then turns around and heads back towards Deacon. As he approaches, Deacon looks at him and kind of nods, and Lee points his thumb over at you and he's like, all right. He looks over at this woman that's standing out with them. She's got a bit of a different vibe. She's wearing this pinstriped suit. She's got this shaved head. She's got like a bunch of necklace, and she keeps gnawing from them, and you realize they're those little candy necklaces, that we used to have as kids, the lasting thing. And she sees you. She nods at Deacons. She comes over, like, hey, you Teddy?
That's me.
How you doing? I'm Hyacinth.
Hey, and she extends a hand.
She takes it, shakes it. Lee's been telling us a lot about you.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, good things. He says that you have a really good head on your shoulder. He says that you pulled yourself out of a really tight situation, that, you're someone who, knows the city well, knows the Chicago a lot, and I know he has a lot of respect for you, sounds like.
Oh, that's nice. I hear I've been summoned.
Oh, no, it's not like that at all. Deacon will be right over. We're very, very thankful that you took the time to come out and meet us. Look, this is not a recruitment pitch or anything like that. You're totally free to do what you want, I think. I know you've been hanging out. If ever this feels right for you, you'll step in, and if it doesn't, you don't, and that's fine. We're not about to start forcing people to do stuff that's kind of really the opposite of what we're trying to do. But
seems like it's in the name, really.
Yeah. Well, I always myself kind of found it odd that a bunch of people call themselves Anarch. Anarchs have leadership, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
More like organizers, I think, than kind of a leadership thing. You know the city well? You've been around a while?
I know it pretty well. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. You know anything about truckers?
I do, yeah. Funny you should mention.
All right, cool. I mean, that's going to be right in line with what Deacon wants to talk to you about. Oh, here he comes. And as you look up, Deacon comes over. And he just kind of walks over very slowly, smiles at you, pulls up a chair, sits down in it. Like, hey, have a seat with me.
She takes a seat across from him.
Name's Deacon. I hear you're called Teddy.
Yeah.
Real pleasure meeting you, Teddy.
You too, I'm sure.
Well, you'll get to decide that on your own here in a few minutes. Again, I hope Hyacinth told you that this is not a question of recruiting you or anything like that. We came here because we were asked to. We're going to try to organize the people here a little bit to try and make things a bit more livable out here. I'm told that you have a little bit of knowledge of the Sabbat out here, when the people out in garrison, stuff like that. Is that true?
A little bit.
I'm also told.
The person who made me was.
Okay. I hear that you and a couple of friends, that's what happened, right? You were embraced by them and then rescued by... Do you, and this is just a personal question, do you ever feel, and just out of curiosity, before I get to the real point here, is really just satiating my own curiosity, do you ever feel a pull towards, the Sabbat themselves? Like, have you ever been curious about them? Have you ever kind of wanted to investigate them further, things like that? Or have you kind of been comfortable out here? Or I'm really just kind of trying to ascertain whether there's really something in the blood,
Can't say that I've really had any kind of pull towards any certain way. Just kind of doing what's best for me.
That's great. I mean, that's what I tell people all the time. You got to do what's best for you, and the only person that can tell you what's best for you really is yourself. Kind of what I preach, if I preach anything, which, with a name like Deacon, I guess kind of have to do a bit of preaching on the side. Can I ask you a question, Teddy?
Shoot.
What do you want?
It's a bit of a hard question to answer.
Why?
World peace.
Okay. Pretty good. I mean, most people tend to say an end to hunger. World peace is a good one too. But if we're not bullshitting each other here, what would you say you want for yourself out of this gift of eternal life that you've been given?
I don't know. I've been asking that question to myself a lot lately, I think, and I just want to be able to go about my business, maybe help a few people along the way.
That's pretty noble. You feel like you got some debts hanging on your back, maybe?
You could say that, yeah.
Yeah, I know that feeling. When I got involved in this whole racket, that's kind of what I had going on too. I was a bit aimless, been embraced, abandoned by my sire early on. Never really brought up either Camarilla or Sabbat, just sort of left to my own devices and trying to find my own way and realizing that there's not really a how-to manual. You kind of get thrown into the night like this and kind of got to figure out how to do it. And I found that everything's just more magnified, whatever you might do as a human being, like that's wrong or right, just becomes more magnified when you're gifted or cursed with whatever this thing that we have. And I found that very difficult to bear at first, in the first few years, even decade, I would say at first, like how much everything was so much more extreme. Like, I used to be a sailor. Like, that's what I did. I was just on ships all the time. And the worst thing that happened was, you didn't get paid, or you got cold, or you got your fucking foot trapped in a coil of rope or whatever. And maybe you did a little bit of crime on the side. But now, like, next thing I know, I'm fucking killing people, drinking blood. Like, it was just like so intense and so extreme. And I didn't know how to deal with that.
Right. Can I ask you a question, sir?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Why'd you want to talk to me? What do you want from me?
I'm told you know the city well. I'm here to do a job. My job here is to give the people in this room and others who may join us a bit of currency in the political climate of the city. A bit of, stick to put about. Just so that, they can be heard and they can have their voices ring out a little bit louder. Not like, too much. Just enough so that the people in their fucking white halls up above get to hear what it is that we want. And I've always found that one of the best ways to do that is, hey, Rolling Nomads, thank you so much for the raid. We really appreciate it. Thank you for being here. We're playing Vampire the Masquerade. Fair warning. Adult content, though that hasn't been too bad tonight. Thank you for raiding us. We really appreciate it. Please pull up a chair, sit down, watch these wonderful performers. I've always found that the real lifeblood of a city is transportation. You control transportation in the city, and I'm talking about trucks, especially trucks, but anything else really that moves product around. When you control that, you kind of have a pretty big stick to put about. I'm trying to get the folks here to move out of Bricktown. This is too much like, Anarch Central, and we kind of don't want to be Anarch Central. We want to blend in a little bit more in our surroundings. We want to be a little bit more, a bit less cliche, if you will. But mainly I'm interested in shipping. So I was wondering, if you might be able to point out to me a couple places in this city that would have a more industrial manufacturing feel, blue collar feel, maybe a lot of shipping companies, things like that. Basically, I would like you to be a bit of a tour guide for me in this city. Show me those places, show me those companies, show me the people who control them, and help me find a new place for us to set up shop, so to speak. That's all I want. Just your knowledge of the city, your knowledge of this place. Show me around, show me these things. You don't have to do anything beyond that.
Why should I help you?
Because I get the feeling, Teddy, that, like me, you're someone who's kind of wondering where she fits in. What's a place for you in this new world of ours? And that can be in the night, it can be in the city, it can be within the political structure, but I think you're someone like me who's looking for her place. You've maybe gone away from another place that you thought was yours, but it wasn't, and then you maybe found another place, and that place wasn't it either. And I think you're like a butterfly flying around, looking for a place to land, a place that's going to be your place. And what I'm trying to do here is help people who don't have a place, don't have a home, don't know where they belong, find that place in this. And I think you can help me with it. But it's up to you. If you say no, you can walk away, no problem, no ill feelings.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
Why do you do it?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm sentimental. Maybe I just like to be helpful. Maybe I hate the fucking Camarilla Fox and I want to stick it up their ass. At the end of the day, Teddy, I do it because I spent a lot of years being lost and not knowing what my place in this new life was, whether I was now the proud owner of a curse or a gift, and feeling really lost and finding myself forced to do things I didn't want to do just to get by and just to survive. And I think that we all deserve a better lot than that, and we deserve to live in a place and live the kind of life that allows us to do more than just get by doing things that we...
What's the end goal? Gathering all these people.
Well, we're not going to do anything violent, if that's what... I want to give these people here, and anyone who wants to join them, the means of controlling their own destiny.
So it's like a haven of sorts.
It's kind of like, I want you to have the keys to the cage, and whether you decide to use it or not is up to you. But god damn it, at least you'll have that key in your hand.
You got a way of getting in contact that I can get in contact?
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on, I got pats around his pockets a little bit, pulls out a card, hands it to you. Phone number on it. My cell, call, text. Kind of shitty at texting, but you know, that's fine if that's what you want to do.
All right. She holds her hand out to him.
He stands up, grabs it, gives it a pretty good shake. I reached out to you because I hear that you're stand-up, and I hear that you've been through a lot of shit, and you're still kicking. I think that grit is very important. Kind of things we're trying to do, because grit is what gets you through to the next day.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, of
We'll
course.
be in contact. All right.
If there's anything I can do for you, let me know, all right?
All right. And she's going to stand and... Where is Lee right now?
He's kind of standing just respectfully at a distance from, you know, the lot of you. Sort of laying there, finishing his beer, looking at the, you know, you guys talking.
I think as she turns to walk away, she catches Lee's eye, and holds it for just a moment, and then makes her way to the door to leave.
You leave, you go down the stairs. As you get to the ground, you hear Teddy.
She stops, turns. Yeah.
We're gonna try to fix this, or is it just broken now?
I don't know. I don't think it has to be broken. But the way I see it, it ain't on me to fix.
Check in on Nora. Been asking about you.
Yep. That's where I plan to go next.
You on?
You know where to find me.
And you know where to find me.
She's just gonna turn, and I think as she turns to walk away, she starts making the shift into the coyote.
You turn into the coyote, feel that primal power that comes with that. You senses sharpen, your sense of smell, your sense of hearing sharpen. The night sort of comes alive for you, and you head off into the back streets.
I think Lee will hear her howl as she runs away.
Thank you. Helena,
Yes.
you return home, or were you going somewhere else, or were you going home?
No, should go back home.
When you arrive home, you see a familiar BMW parked out front.
Is it running?
It is not running, but you can clearly see someone inside.
I think she walks up to it. And she'll walk over to the driver's side window.
Window rolls down. You get in there. Smiles at you.
I'm sorry, are you lost?
Looking for, yeah, there's a little shop around here, a little shop of horrors, sells like occult knickknacks and incense and stuff like that. Have you know about it?
I might know of a shop as such, but I don't know. I don't sell to strangers.
Oh. Well, it's too bad.
Mm-hmm.
How about you get into the car and we can get better acquainted?
Do you got any puppies or candy in there?
Well, I do have something, actually, now that you mention it. Are you the kind of girl who's impressed by people with titles?
As a matter of fact, I am. And she will very quickly scurry around to get into the car.
You climb into the car, sit down. He looks at you. Sorry I've been away, but it's been hard at work for us.
Oh.
Yeah.
And what are your fruits of your labor?
Well, as you are no doubt aware, there's an investigation going on. Apparently the sheriff, Mr. Mason, Clan Toreador, disappeared and is presumed to have been killed. Going on a few months now. Now, I know you know nothing about that.
No, not at all. That's crazy.
I'm sure you know also that in the meantime, the Keeper of Elysium and Prospero of Clan Toreador are absolutely ineffective, has been doing the job of sheriff. Very poorly. So the prince has seen it fit to appoint somebody new to the position, someone whose first order of business is to investigate the disappearance and probable death of the former sheriff.
I see.
And that person there, Helena, is you. I'm kidding, it's me.
I was gonna say, that's crazy.
It's me. I guess my my former exploits, my track record as a Sabbat hunter speaks for itself, and I've been asked by the sheriff by the prince to fill in the role of sheriff and to investigate the disappearance of Mr. Mason.
She's pawing at him, her thumbs rubbing on the collar of his shirt, and she's leaning in over the center console, and she's close to his face. Tell me, as sheriff, do you get a shiny pair of handcuffs?
I have like a dozen of them in the back of their car.
This opens up a lot.
It does, and I think I found a way to deal with our other problem, namely one Regent Prelate Rojas.
Is that so?
I need something from you first, though.
What is that?
I need you to do something. And I can't quite explain why yet, but you're going to need to trust me. But if we get this done, it's going to accelerate our plans. Quite a good bit.
I don't know if you're fully back in my good graces after you tried setting me on fire.
He reaches out with his hand, cups your jaw, just tight enough, and says, "Oh, you liked a little pain."
Tell me you love me.
Well, I didn't kill you with the fire, did I?
Say it, Hayden.
You know, for someone who's dedicated to a god of darkness and corruption, you're such a romantic at heart.
Sue me.
I love you.
What do you want then?
I want you to climb here into my lap.
Okay. And she'll do so.
I want you to call your friend Teddy for me.
And tell her what?
Ask her if she's into 3. I'm kidding. Way too fucking furry for me. Your friend Teddy hangs out with Anarchs, doesn't she?
Does Helena know this?
I don't think Helena would know that. No. I think it's so sporadic for Teddy. She doesn't really just talk about it much.
That would be news to me, but,
Well,
I'm
her
not her
boyfriend
keeper.
does.
Lee,
Yeah.
I don't think they're dating.
Well, regardless, she's a lot closer to them than I am. And if our low plan's gonna work, we're gonna need her to do something for us. Now tell me, are you gonna help me with this, or do I have to take it back?
I'll help you.
The girl.
Now, you've been gone for how long?
Not long enough that I've forgotten the important bit. He rolls up the window. Teddy. Actually, before we get to Teddy, what will Cassie do after leaving the meeting with Cora?
Cassie's gonna go back to her apartment. But I think she might shoot Teddy a text. Come around sometime this week.
I think you get a response to that. It just says, of course. Just tell me when.
Cassie will give you a probably within a day or two.
Looking forward to it.
She sends you less than and then 33333, so it's like a bunch of hearts.
You get an actual heart emoji back.
And then what is she gonna do?
She's just gonna go back to her apartment. I figure that the night is almost up.
As you go home, And you moved, right? You don't live in the you've gotten a new apartment with the money.
I got a 2-bedroom in case someone wants to stay with me, and that someone being my new friend.
As you get into the apartment, you hear voices coming from the kitchen. Voices you recognize. You hear April. You hear Elliot. You hear the professor talking to each other. You hear plates and dishes being moved around and laughter and a little bit of music playing.
I think that Cassie, she closes her apartment door behind her, and I imagine the entrance of her apartment is dark, and then there's the light that leads into the kitchen that is like calling to her like a beacon, and she just stands there in the cold dark for a second by herself, listening to the voices from the other room. And then she'll call out. She calls for Prince, as though that would break the spell.
Out of the kitchen, tail wagging, his favorite toy in his mouth. Prince comes up to you, very excited to see you.
I do the baby talk. Oh, you're such a good boy, and then I grab his little jowls and I move him all around.
Very happy to see you. He slobbers all over you.
I don't mind. I slobber over myself too. It's fine.
Puts his toy down at your feet and then puts his head down on your knee. Looks up at you, big eyes, like, "What's wrong, Mom?"
I think I like whispered to him. Is that all in my head too? And then I'm gonna kind of get up, give him a little scritch on the head, and I'm gonna make my way towards the kitchen.
When you get there, you smell coffee. You hear the echo of voices. You hear the echo of their laughter, and you feel the emptiness of the happiness of their chat together, still kind of filling the room. It feels good. Feels warm, and it feels like coming home.
I think that Cassie almost tries to be imperceivable in that moment as she makes her way into the kitchen, sort of gliding around, probably going into the fridge and grabbing a Capri Sun of blood, I'd imagine.
As you're sitting there trying to become unseen, you feel a tug and you see that Prince is at your side again, tugging on your pants. He's got another one of his toys down there. He's like, got like dog smile.
I'm gonna like
back.
grab the toy and try to like see if he wanted to just play fetch. Just gonna kind of toss it into the living room.
You toss it and he watches it go, and then he turns and he looks at you. And he just
where's
looks at
dog? Why would you? Do you not know how to play fetch?
He just comes over and sort of rubs himself around you, Megan.
Is he acting differently or weirdly?
No, just very
Okay.
affectionate.
I just had the thought that like Verena would turn into Prince or something.
You
It's
never
fucking
know.
horrible.
I can make that permanent for you if you'd like.
Oh, I'm okay, thank you.
No, he's just being very affectionate. He's just happy to see you.
I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go look around the apartment, just to see. I imagine that if I had offered up a room to Verena, it was likely she'd be in and out. So I think I'm gonna go to like her room.
She doesn't seem to.
There.
She doesn't seem to be there. I've been there recently.
Cassie's a little sad at that.
A little sad, but there's also, I think, a different little feeling that comes onto Cassie at this point, and that's you get the feeling that she's going to be back.
Does that feel foreboding?
Not at all.
Okay. Yeah, I think Cassie's going to should have looked into the empty room, kind of give a little sigh, and then close the door, and then she's going to make her way back over to the living room area. She's just listening to the voices and the noises and the feelings of home that are sort of washing over her, and she's just taking it in. She's not interacting. I think there's that fear that if she interacts, it's going to break the moment, and she's just taking it all in.
For the first time in a long time, you feel a sense of being home and of not being alone. It's a new feeling, and it feels tenuous, but between the warmth of those voices in your head and the knowledge that we'll be back in Prince's presence, for the first time in a long time, you feel pretty good. Which maybe unsettles you.
I think she's taking today as a win. I feel like at this point, Cassie is like, well, there's nowhere else to go but up after what's been happening. And she's taking today as a win for the Malkavians after telling her story to the Primogens and gaining status. And she is very desperately trying to shake off whatever bad feeling is probably beginning to creep in her that, hey, things are going good. Something shitty is inevitably going to happen to her at this point.
Well, nothing shitty happens to her at all. The rest of the night goes by quietly. The sun eventually rises. You go to bed. But before all that happens, across the city, you arrive in coyote form at Nora's house. Teddy, the first thing you notice is that the front gate is open. You notice that a number of the animals that call Nora's house their home are out in the streets, milling about.
I think she's gonna try to lock eyes with one of those animals.
You notice this little French terrier that named Francis that has been around for a while, and he sees you and he kind of comes over and he comes by, licks him face, big tongue.
She's gonna use her animalism to ask if they're okay. Where's Cora? I'm sorry, Nora.
He's like,
wrong aura.
Yeah, wrong aura. Like, I don't know. We came together. They took her away. Big black van. There's a lot of men with masks and guns.
I think she instantly shifts out of Coyote and runs into the house and starts turning things over, looking for any clues.
You go through the house. As soon as you come in, you can see that there's been a fracas in here. Some of the furniture is broken. There's definitely signs of a fight. There's blood, dried blood on the ground. You kind of go through it. You don't find Nora. You don't find much else. And then kind of just at the last moment, as you stop and kind of take in the scene, You notice something on the edge of the door, the floor, the wrapper, gold, where there's
when I last saw Owen, did he give me any way of contacting him?
Yeah, he gave you an email address.
Nora has a computer for her Etsy.
Yeah.
Her macrame, her Etsy macrame. I think she instantly makes her way to Nora's computer and sits down and powers it up, and I think she goes as far as to make a new email address, like the like real quick, like making a Google account, and calls herself something ridiculous like Coyote Mama. Road dog, like just something stupid, and like very quickly types a message out to Owen, and all it says is can we meet, and it's signed T, and that's it.
She sent it.
She sends it.
And just as you send this message, and the lollygaggers come in with a raid. Thank you so much, lollygaggers, for lollygagging your way into here just, unfortunately, as we are ending, but we will pass the raid on to some friends of ours. We will end here for tonight. See what Owen has to say for himself. Next week, in the wake of this unfortunate disappearance of Nora and the appearance of the Werther's original, which you had to know at some point. I'm gonna come back down.
I'm gonna fucking
I
riot.
rebuke you.
You're not allowed to make me cry twice tonight. Damn it. All right.